We're sitting here with Mayor Lloyd Winnecke and Alan Mounts, the Director of the Evansville Water and Sewer Utility. Thanks for joining us today, gentlemen.
Our pleasure.
Thanks.
So today we announced the $729 million agreement between the city and the EPA to fix the city's combined sewer overflow problem. Alan, can you describe what's in that agreement and what's going to happen over the next 25 years?
Well, over the next 25 years, fundamentally, a key component of it is reducing the amount of what we call combined sewer overflows into the Ohio River, Pigeon Creek, and the B Slough area. And it's actually to comply with the Clean Water Act to clean up the waterways, if you will. And today, we have about 50 activations per year where an overflow occurs into those bodies of water. The EPA has been pushing us under the enforcement proceedings to reduce that to 0 overflows per year and 100% capture. The plan that we agreed to with the $729 million would result in 4 combined sewer overflows in a typical year and about a 98% capture rate. But the good thing about it is we have almost 25 years to do that within, as opposed to most consent decrees are 20 or less years to comply with the Clean Water Act. In addition, not as visible is we have to remediate the separate sanitary sewer system. About 60% of the Evansville sewer lines are in the separate system. Back in the 50s or 60s, the city decided to not hook on to the stormwater system and separate those systems. And that's quite common among 800 to 1,000 communities around the United States that have those type of systems in place.
Reeling this back, can you explain what's so bad about these combined sewer overflow days? What's the issue with this water getting into the Ohio?
Well, put it into this context. Today, in a typical year, we estimate in a year that 2 billion gallons of wastewater go into those streams of water.
Wastewater is a polite way of saying
wastewater going into those bodies of water, which obviously contain things that are not so good. Mm-hmm. And since the river is considered a recreational area, a sensitive area, that limits recreational use for boating, swimming, ski-doos, whatever. And they're very focused on improving not only water quality, but also usability of those recreational areas.
Mayor Lloyd Winnecke, can you please describe the negotiation process? I know you both have been heavily involved in the last few years, but how has the city and the federal government been debating this plan over the last few years?
Probably the best, if I had to boil it down to a single word, I'd use the word contentious. We've had very distinct opinions about what the best solution set was for our community and what level of investment would be best for our community. We originally thought going from 50 combined sewer overflows in a year to 12 at a cost of approximately $540 million over a 28-year plan was the best way for Evansville to address that. The EPA was very firm in its stance that it needed to be 0 overflows. At 0 overflows, it's a cost of approximately $1 billion. We just said no. We really drew a line in the sand that said, one, we didn't believe the incremental improvement in water quality was worth it, and we thought our ratepayers couldn't afford it. So we are where we are today, a $729 million investment over a 24-and-a-half-year period that takes it down to 4 CSOs in a year.
One thing that this deal is going to affect is the B Slough. Can either one of you describe maybe what that is and how it's going to change?
I'll take a crack at that. As you enter the city, on the south side of the city on Veterans Memorial Parkway, to the north side of that coming into the city is a concrete channel, and that is called B Slough. It's actually a waterway, a drainage area, if you will, where there are 2 combined sewer overflow locations along that. So any water from the east side that is overflowing fundamentally is coming into that concrete channel and flowing directly to the Ohio River and not being treated. It's an open sewage channel. Obviously, during certain times of the year, the smell is very obvious as you're coming into town. Number one. Number two, it's not a very attractive entrance to the city. And so the plan that we have will not only remediate and eliminate B Slough, but we'll convert that to a very attractive wetland area for treating wastewater then.
Let's be clear, this is a multi-year process. There will actually be work that will start on Bee Slough as early as late summer, early fall, but the construction of the wetlands itself, the most prominent piece of the Bee Slough solution set, really won't start till approximately 2020.
That's correct. And even beyond that, it'll take 10 to 15 years to complete the project. So it's a massive project, probably close to $150 million just in the Bee Slough area alone. Now, there's several different parts to that, but it's going to take some time to construct that.
It is probably the most prominent thing in the plan, and it's probably the one piece that most residents of the city know about, just based on the odor.
Right.
It's a very innovative idea, right? I guess the EPA had suggested maybe taking a different way to solving our overflow problem.
It is an innovative solution that would not be of the scale that the EPA would typically look at. They have had wetlands before, but on a much smaller scale. This is probably in a 30 to 45 acre range, so very large scale. The EPA's standard solution would be to build a tunnel. If you looked at very many cities, large cities, they have agreed to build tunnels, which are tremendously expensive. It's a storage unit then that stores wastewater until the rain has gone by, and then you can send it to your treatment plants. But also a very expensive solution, and one that gets you at the billion-dollar price tag. In this case, it took a while to convince the EPA that the wetland technology would work for us and meet performance standards.
Speaking of price tags, can we talk about the impact to the ratepayer, to city and sewer customers in the city and out of the city?
We can. The actual rate that customers pay vary based on the amount of water they use. And so we bill in 1,000-gallon units, so that varies from month to month. And customers vary from month to month, but a typical customer uses about 4,000 gallons. That's roughly about a $45 a month fee if you're using 4,000 gallons per month. We've obviously had increases the last 3 years. The process for setting rates is we're required to do a cost study analysis to justify rate increases. We will begin that process now that we have the EPA approval. That'll take a few months to work through all the details for the 2017 and what I would anticipate 2018 and 19 rate increases. Sometime this summer, late summer, we'd be in a position then to communicate what we're expecting in terms of rate increases for 2017. And that becomes part of our budget process that we would have eventually take to City Council for them to approve then.
Mayor Winnecke, how will the average resident see the progress of this project over the next 25 years, other than the impact on their bill?
Well, that's a great question because many of the projects are underground. Outside of the activity at Bee Slough, the reconstruction or the construction of a new lift station at 7th Avenue, most everything else will be underground. So it will be incumbent upon the city, the water utility, to keep our residents apprised of the status. But there are specific performance standards that are part of the consent decree, so we have to meet these deadlines. If not, we're subject to fines by the federal government.
Yeah. The solution in some cities is they do more what's called sewer separations. They'll separate the sanitary lines from the stormwater lines. We'll have some of that happening in certain areas where that's the appropriate solution. That would be more visible to the residents in that area, but it's not the key solution in all this. It's primarily building storage facilities and treatment facilities at strategic locations around town that aren't going to be highly visible to our customers. A lot of it's out of sight, out of mind. And a lot of the work's going to be happening at the treatment plants. We have 2 of those. Other than Bee Slough would be the most visible project, or an area where we're doing the sewer separations in would be another visible project. Of course, we're always out there inspecting and cleaning sewer lines, so people would continue to see our trucks out there and inspection crews checking on manholes and testing sewer lines to see if any repair work's needed.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on today. Appreciate it, guys.
You're welcome. Pleasure.